So we're in First Kings, and we're into chapter 17, and one of the primary figures of First Kings is introduced here, and it's Elijah. And it's amazing. Elijah is really just spoken of him here in a few chapters, but his legacy is so amazing. He's referred to on and on throughout the scriptures. In the New Testament, he's referred to, and he's even prophesied about in Malachi as the one, someone will come in the spirit of Elijah before the day of the Lord. And so what a character. So we need to know something about Elijah. So we're going to take a little bit of a look here. And Elijah arrives out of nowhere. We haven't heard anything about a guy named Elijah. All we know is Ahab's a wicked king. He marries Jezebel, the worshiping Baal, and Elijah shows up. So chapter 17, verse 1. Now Elijah the Tishbite, who was of the settlers of Gilead, said to Ahab, as the Lord, the God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, surely there shall be neither dew nor rain these years except by my word. Talk about sounding arrogant. It's not arrogance if it's just true. This is just true. God's speaking through this man. He's spoken so clearly through this guy. He comes on the scene. Nobody knows about him beforehand as far as we know. He's not spoken of in the scriptures. And he just makes a declaration. It's not going to rain unless I say so. Wow. And so that's where our introduction to Elijah. And so what we see is that he goes to the brook Cherith. It stops raining, and it shall be, you'll drink from the brook. I've commanded the ravens to feed you. So Elijah leaves the scene. He goes out to this remote place. He's by this little brook, and he's drinking water there, and the ravens come and feed him. Amazing thing. Ravens are pretty selfish birds, territorial, and they'll fight over what they want. But the ravens are actually coming and sharing their food with Elijah. Verse 8, then the word of the Lord came to him, saying, arise, go to Zarephath, which belongs to Sidon, and stay there. Behold, I have commanded a widow there to provide for you. So here the brook is drying up, and he's going to have a new way of provision. And he gets to, he's supposed to go to Zarephath to this widow who says the Lord says he's commanded her to take care of him, provide for him. Well, I don't think the widow knows this, but God's made a command in the heavenlies, and it's going to take place. Verse 12 says, but he says, verse 11, please bring me a piece of bread in your hand. Verse 12, but she said, as the Lord your God lives, I have no bread, only a handful of flour in the bowl and a little oil in the jar, and behold, I am gathering a few sticks that I might go in and prepare for me and my son that we may eat and die. Okay, Elijah shows up. This is the woman that's going to provide for him that God's commanded. And he says, bring me some bread. And she says, I don't have any. I'm getting ready to make our last little bit. I got some flour. We're going to eat it and die. And, we're thinking, oh God, yeah, that's great, Lord. This woman going to provide for me. She's going to die. Maybe I can get a little bit of the last bit of bread. But that wasn't Elijah's thinking at all. Elijah said to her, verse 13, do not fear. Go do as you have said, but make me a little bread cake from it first. Bring it to me, and afterward you may make one for yourself and for your son. Well, that's pretty selfish, we might think, in our own terms. But in reality, in the scriptures, if we do the word of the Lord, if we do and in this case, Elijah was really representing the Lord to her. If we give our first fruits to him, if we give show honor to the Lord by giving that which is precious, that very first thing we have, or the thing that we need, in one sense, he gives it to her, or she gives it to him, and says, if you'll do that, you'll bring it out to me first, and then you'll have something for you and your son. Verse 14, for thus says the Lord God of Israel, the bowl of flour shall not be exhausted, nor shall the jar of oil be empty until the day that the Lord sends rain on the face of the earth. So she went and did according to the word of Elijah, and she and he and her household ate for many days. The bowl of flour was not exhausted, this is verse 16, nor did the jar of oil become empty, according to the word of the Lord, which he spoke through Elijah. So, she's been appointed to take care of him. She didn't know it. But if she'll just do the first obedient thing, which is take the little bit of food she has and give it to the prophet first. Wow. It's like the story we read later in the Psalms about the one who goes about sowing seeds, weeping, because what they're doing is they've got a choice. either I can eat this seed or I can put it in the ground. What do I do? And as they're putting it in the ground, they're weeping, but joy will come in the morning. Joy comes in the harvest. It's a sacrifice at the time, but planting that kind of seed brings forth fruit. And that principle's throughout the scriptures. When we really honor God, when we give to Him, when we're obedient to His word, then it's up to Him to take care of us. But if we try and take care of ourselves, then it's up to us to take care of us. And how many of you know that we don't have all the answers to take care of us? So, we're going to look at verse 17. It says, "Now it came about after these things," this is chapter 17, verse 17, "that the son of the woman, the mistress of the house, became sick, and his sickness was so severe that there was no breath left in him. So she said to Elijah, 'What do I have to do with you, O man of God? You have come to me to bring me my iniquity to remembrance and to put my son to death.'" How many of us don't think in the middle of a crisis situation, why is this happening to me? I guess it's, ooh, I remember when I did this, right? Why is this happening to them? We look at them, oh, I know why that's happening to them. I remember. Well, she was thinking, why is this happening to me? My sin's being brought to remembrance. My son's dead. Did God bring you here for this? And, that's a kind of a natural response. There was an old brother he worked in Assemblies of God. He was a missionary to China before the missionaries were all sent out, one of the last ones to leave, I think. And he used to have a saying. He said, these responses, he'd say, "That's only natural." He said, "It's not spiritual, it's only natural." She was only being natural. It wasn't a spiritual answer. And so often we don't really respond in the spiritual way or seeing God's perspective. We just answer very naturally. Verse 19, "And he said to her, 'Give me your son.' Then he took him from her bosom and carried him up to the upper room where he was living and laid him on his own bed. And he called to the Lord and said, 'O Lord my God, thou hast also brought calamity to the widow with whom I am staying by causing her son to die.' Then he stretched himself upon the child 3 times and called to the Lord and said, 'O Lord my God, I pray thee, let this child's life return to him.'" And the Lord heard the voice of Elijah, verse 22, "And the life of the child returned to him, and he revived. And Elijah took the child and brought him down from the upper room into the house, and gave him to his mother. And Elijah said, 'See, your son is alive.' Then the woman said to Elijah, 'Now I know that you are a man of God, and that the word of the Lord is in your mouth.'" Now I know that you are the man of God, and the word of the Lord is in your mouth. Well, if it wasn't enough for the oil and the flour to be maintained, here she finds, "Oh, now I know you're..." And I don't think it's just like, this is the first time I saw it, but it's like, now I really know. It's just being confirmed again and again. The flour and the oil wasn't the fluke. This is a real thing. And, what a thing for Elijah to do, to lay down on this young man on top of him, and life actually came into him. And of course, we have an example in our own church. Jeff Rush one time really felt like the Lord had called him to do that, and he laid down upon a young man who had pretty much flatlined, and the Lord revived him. What a step of faith, what a step of courage in that moment to obey the Lord in a situation like that. I mean, that's pretty humiliating if nothing happens. Sometimes, real faith like this is really operating in a realm of risk, of really putting it on the line, of just saying, "Okay, God, I'm going to do this no matter how foolish it looks." But just look at the results. When, you take an act, I often tell people, I don't know if this is the Lord or not. I tell them, if you think it's the Lord, do it. Because even if it's not the Lord, He knows you think it's Him. He knows that what you're thinking. And if you don't do it, you're really acting in disobedience. If you really think it's the Lord, you need to respond. And then the results is up to Him, because can I raise someone from the dead? Can you raise someone from the dead on your own? Can Jeff Rush raise someone from the dead? None of us on our own can do that. And so it's just a matter of, we take the step, and then it's in the Lord's hands for Him to confirm by His action, His authority, and His power.